All right, we are live. This is episode 61 of the Deconstruction podcast brought to you by Jobtable, the simplest way to grow and manage your construction business. As always, we're going to kick it off with a quick review here. This came in from Nadia Lindsay. It's a renovation company out in Hamilton, Ontario. So, Jobtable is a great platform. The team is extremely proactive in ensuring you are set up for success from your trial period right through to your subscription. They are there to help navigate you through anything. Short and sweet. Thank you, Nadia, for that
Thank you,
review.
Nadia.
All right.
Good.
So, we have a special guest today. He started with a kitchen refacing company, a job site, and a work ethic that turned heads. Other contractors started calling, referrals started flowing, and then a light bulb moment that most of us had but never acted on. What if the trades stopped working in isolation and started building each other up? That idea became Contractors Alliance Canada, a national platform connecting, empowering, and elevating tradespeople right across the country. There's a job board, a mentorship hub, community for women in the trades, and a network built by contractors for contractors. Today's guest is a working contractor as well, a multi-business entrepreneur, and the guy trying to give the Canadian trades industry the backbone it's always deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, from Owen Sound, Ontario, welcome to the Deconstruction Podcast, Scott Rennie.
Hey, Scott.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Well, yeah, we appreciate you taking the time here, Scott. If you don't mind, take a minute or two and just introduce yourself.
Okay, well, I consider myself a serial entrepreneur. I've started a lot of different businesses, a wide variety. I won't go into all of them, but for the past 15 years, I've been a kitchen contractor. Currently, we do about 100 kitchens a year, and I also have a porta potty rental business that we do, and it's growing fast. And about 2 years ago, I was on a site that we don't often get on. We tend to go into individual homes that are already done. But this site was a brand new home and we were putting in a new kitchen. And so as we were there was a lot of different trades coming and going, which was a new experience for us. And we got to know a lot of them. They got to see our work. We got to see their work. And referrals came out of that, and actually did a kitchen for another contractor that was working there. So I realized that it took that job for me to get to know some of the guys in my area that do tiling and flooring, because I'd never heard of them, and I live in a pretty small area. But I realized there's a lot of guys out there that don't have websites. Really just word of mouth. They might work with a general contractor. So I thought we should really have this in Canada. We should have a spot where guys can join for free and get to know one another and bounce ideas back and forth and eventually hire each other. And why not? Having started many businesses, I know how hard it is to get work sometimes. So one way to get work is just to get to know the guys around you that are doing similar things. So, and that's brought us to here. Like I told you guys earlier, I am a serial entrepreneur. I believe that we may only be here this one time, and I don't really want anybody else telling me when I can eat lunch. So I believe in the eat what you kill mentality. And so this site that we've built supports those people that do that, those men and women that have their own businesses and want to grow them.
Very good. Yeah, no, that's awesome. We can all relate to that, being entrepreneurs ourselves. Talk, I want to dive into the community, right? Contractors Alliance Canada. Like, at what point did a casual referral network become the idea for this community?
I guess it was, you know, I, I used to go online um, and try and get connected with other contractors if I had questions. I built a shop a couple of years ago, and I wanted to know a little more about insulation because it's a heated shop. And so I got on a thread on one site, and as I got down the thread and spent 15 minutes reading, I realized all this information was from Southern California. I was like, so that was discouraging. It was a waste of 15 minutes. That for me, I don't like that. So just a light bulb went off, and I said, okay, we need something in Canada that's Canadian for contractors, deals with the different codes that are in each province in Canada. So that was one of the light bulbs that I finally went, okay, we're doing this.
And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of the websites that exist now, they're associations that do exist, but they are for very specific trades. So you'll have like an association for mechanical, for electrical, but nowhere like something you've created where it's kind of like a hub for all trades to get together across the country.
That's a really good question because you're right. There, as a plumber, you have to get a license. As a electrician, you have to get a license. And then once you get those licenses and you go to school, you tend to be part of a community. But there are guys, tilers, flooring, drywall, all those sub trades. There's just so many of them, and they don't have any central place to go and discuss and learn and bounce ideas off of one another. I understand that a kitchen guy down the road from me probably doesn't want to help me out too much. I get that, but I'm in Ontario and a guy in Vancouver. I can talk to him and he might have some ideas about some things that might help out, and it's no skin off his back. And there are a lot of trades out there just want to help. They don't care if you're down the road. There's lots of work. They just want to help.
Yeah, I find that's a barrier that we've been talking about a lot on the show is people kind of dropping their guard, whether it is another kitchen company down the road. It is a community. Everybody's doing kind of the same thing, and sometimes you never know where you'd be able to help that kitchen company or that kitchen company might be able to help you. And I find that that's one thing that is lacking in our community, and I'm glad that that is something you built where you can have a bunch of trades, or whether they're the similar trades, but also per community, right, or per province or per state, because it is very true. It changes from province to province, state to state, municipality to municipality, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think that is one thing that is lacking. And also trying to instill in a lot of these, I want to say for, more of our generation and a little bit of the older generation, obviously trying to funnel it down to the new guys coming into the trades where we don't have to be so closed off, right? Because if you look at, every other industry and us being in software now as well, I noticed that no matter if they're competitors, not competitors, everybody's open to just have a discussion. What's going on? What are your struggles? These are my struggles. Oh, you know what? I had a similar struggle. This is what we did. How many guys are you carrying? What do you notice on that? And again, I think it's important to build these communities like we were just talking offline. Like the Mennonites and everybody's just willing to help and to help everybody kind of push forward, because the reality is, you're doing 100 kitchens a year. You're probably slammed at all times, right? So even if you were to talk to that other kitchen company who's down the road, it's like, look, man, there's a big pie out there, you know, and we all take a piece of the pie. So if you need anything, let me know. I might be able to help you, and vice versa, right? And I noticed that that's lacking, and I feel like a platform like what you've built can also not only answer a question, you know, like you said, I'm building something, I want to learn about a little bit about installation, so you create a thread and people chime in on what to do in that area, you know, where the codes are relevant, but also to be able to open up discussion on what is happening within that industry, you know, so kitchen guys can speak to other kitchen guys in the community and kind of bounce ideas off of each other. I think it's extremely important, and this is, you know, I think the construction industry does need something like that.
It's so valuable. You hit the nail on the head. Going back to this job we did at this new house, one of the biggest things I got from it was talk. We're in a bit of a silo. Like we do our this, and I'm driving in my truck by myself, and you know, you bouncing stuff around in your head, and you had a bad customer, and you know that can affect you sometimes. But I talked to a few guys at this job site, and they deal with the exact same things, which was actually kind of refreshing to hear. It wasn't like, okay, I'm the only one having this problem and I can't figure out how to solve it, or I'm the only one that has this difficult customer. Or it was great talking to other people and just hearing the same thing. Just that helps. It's like, okay, I'm not crazy.
You're not the only one. Yeah, you're not the only one.
Yeah. So, and I guess that leads into mental health. That's the one thing we want to really help too, and on our site is try and make that something that's talked about and more available for people. And even just venting. Sometimes you just venting is awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what it is too? It seems that like when me and Johnny were starting the company 15, 16 years ago, it felt as if every contractor just held their cards very, very tight to their chest, and nobody wanted to give any information out. It was, you know, it's like every person for themselves, right? Where now in like the age of information, and it's truly become the age of networking, where all of those walls are crumbling now, right? Like everything, the information is out there. So there's like nothing I can really hide from you, nor can you hide from me. Like if you're a kitchen contractor, I can easily contact another dozen contractors and get answers to whatever question I have. I can easily watch YouTube videos, Google anything I'm questioning you on. So there is no incentive to lie or keep your cards close to your chest. And like Johnny said, it's such a huge pie now that it only works in our benefits to network and have each other as contacts. We've actually had a guy leave our company because he started his own company and he wanted to go off and do service. And people would ask me, oh, you know, like, did you give him shit? Were you mad that he left? Because he was a pretty high up guy in our company. And I said, first, number one, how could I be mad at him? I did the same thing, you know, 16 years ago when I started my company. And number two, we now have a really good plumber who's starting his own service company at our disposal. So it's like any influx of work, any overload of work, we can just send to him and we know it's going to be in good hands and we can make 10% off whatever we send his way. Right. And I think people are overlooking that aspect, that they think like they're just really clenching on to their little piece of pie, but it's such a huge pie that you really don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah,
Scott, I'm curious to hear, what's the hardest part of building a community from scratch when, you know, a lot of times we speak to people, tradespeople specifically, about how busy they are. They're busy to, you know, learn a new software and send invoices and quotes. From your lens here, building this community, like what is the hardest part when tradespeople are so quote unquote busy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Since we've started, that's been really the main thing that I've been trying to concentrate on, and advertising, word of mouth, social media is big. You had Jada Finch on a few episodes ago. She's a big part of our site, and she's done a tremendous job of trying to get the name out there. But there, I think going back to what Charlie said, I think that there's potentially some of that. Oh, I don't know if I want to share anything out there, and this looks like a sharing site, but we're trying to overcome that. We have a lot to offer that's free, that's very, very, very helpful. So we're hoping to be helpful without any cost to join, and then a little cost if you want to add on a couple things if you find some value in them.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. So your membership is actually completely free. And then you guys offer a $10 membership that has some additional benefits, and you give the first 3 months for free, which I think is more than fair for anyone trying to join the community.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, the $10 membership, like, I mean, sorry, I go back to the free membership. It's you can join, you can have discussions with people, join trade groups. You can get the information that we've put onto the website. We have a section called Toolbox that has a lot of resources in it. We have a few things, like we update the building permits that are issued in Canada all the time, and it's updated every month. That kind of information. We have news feed on there that is strictly Canadian construction news, so how that might affect your business. The thing that I really would like to have people do, it costs $10 a month, which isn't a lot. I mean, a lot of guys have that rolling around in their truck, and you get a listing, and there's a map, and you put yourself on there. So when contractors or general contractors are looking, they can look in this area and see all the tilers, all the flooring guys, all the plumbers. Makes it a little easier for them to go and search out what they need. We also just introduced an AI. If you guys may have heard of the ChatGPT and Claude and that kind of thing that's out there, we have one on our site now that it's just awesome. For $10, you get unlimited use of it, $10 a month, and you can ask it what I should eat to feel a little more energetic during the day. You can ask it, how do I build this stair stringer? And it'll ask you a few little questions, and then it'll just spit it out for you. It can be used as a calculator. It can be used as it'll tell you how to set up your Instagram. It'll even help you with marketing on your social media. It's an unbelievable thing. So we have that available. It's available for free and you get 10 questions a day, I think, on it, which is probably plenty for most, and then unlimited if you pay.
Amazing.
Very good, very good. I want to switch gears a little bit. You're a serial entrepreneur, a lot of business experience behind your belt. How do you separate your time and energy between businesses that are, in kind of different I don't want to say different worlds, but, different segments of the market?
Yeah, good question. I'm not organized in that fashion. I don't set aside specific times for each thing. I take it as it's needed. Kitchens are our number one. It's probably takes up most of my time. My wife does sales. I have a guy that installs. I'm doing measuring, all the in-between stuff. The porta potty rental business, I have a driver. I built my own system, actually using the thing that's on Contractors Alliance, it told me how to code, and I built a system to keep track of the porta potties and route optimization and that kind of thing. So really, that business takes about 6 hours a week. Um, uh, the rest of the time, I'm in between this Contractors Alliance and the kitchens. I'm a bit probably unique. You guys might understand this. I grew up on a farm. Um, it was a dairy farm. We worked 7 days a week, and I'm not afraid of work, so I tend to work 7 days a week, but I almost don't look at it as work, especially when I'm at home and I'm doing all the books and scheduling and developing. Um, I I had a we had another business, and we had a person that worked in there, and she said, I take Fridays off to do my books. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I do my books on Sunday while I'm watching the football game. I'm always working. It's just who I am. So I don't know if that fully answers your question. It's
Yeah, no,
in
fair enough.
Sounds like that person that told you about Friday needs Jobtable.
yeah,
We
exactly.
do our books. We do our books while we're driving from one site to another.
So when you sit down on
I heard
Sunday,
a guy say one time, he said, and I liked it because that's kind of the way I think. He said, Fridays are awesome. He said, it means there's only 2 more days till Monday morning. I just can't wait.
that's Costa.
So,
That's Costa.
No, I saw Johnny looking down. I guarantee he probably sent out like 2 invoices right now.
That's the key. The key is I always say, look, like everybody in this room, like we're all family men, kids and wives, and especially with young kids too, so many extracurricular activities. Once you implement a system that allows you to just do it from anywhere, I almost feel like admin work, let's call it, that annoying admin work is just a thing of the past, right? It starts to become something where, I always say when I get home, or on the weekends, that's my time. I've worked hard all week, so that I can free up time to have with my wife and my kids, right, and my family, right. And the last thing I want to do is not be able to enjoy a Friday night or a Sunday, like you said, watching the football game, whatever the case may be, because I have to just sit behind a desk, and go through paperwork and see what I have to invoice, what's coming in. And I just find in today's day and age, like we were talking about ChatGPT and AI and everything like that, things are advancing at such a rapid pace. Yet us as blue collar workers, a lot of people don't want to get out of their day-to-day routine, and that routine has been used since 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Sure, you introduced the computer, but now you have to be behind a desk. So things evolve, and I feel that, as blue collar guys, we're the last to adapt this, right? And again, a lot of us, just like you said, Scott, like you've mastered the craft of building kitchens and installing kitchens, right? I don't think that when you went to go learn construction, or us when we went to go learn plumbing, there's no course to learn the admin work, right? So I always find that those Fridays, those Saturdays, those Sundays, everybody needs a tool to give them their time back, right? Because that's what I find we even in our personal conversations that we have, and I ask everybody this, it's like, what is the biggest commodity today? And I know a lot of people say gold, oil, whatever, but it's like, it's time.
Yes.
You're buying everything to make something go faster, to buy your time back, right? So, as a business owner of a construction business, that's your biggest investment, right? That's where you need to invest in. And if you don't have a simple tool to give you that time to free up your time for the weekends, the evenings, it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, get with the times, right? Because I guarantee you those are the same people that do have ChatGPT on their phone, right? But then it's like, hey, what are you using for like work orders or invoice, or, you know, it's like, oh, this book, you know, or,
Right.
or, you know, like, it's like, oh, I have to go back to the office. It's like, what? It's like, man, just ask ChatGPT right there, you know, like ask them what you should use, you know? So I find it funny. We're late adapters. We're definitely late adapters. And I believe a community like you're building online, Scott, and, you know, another one, even like our friend, you know, from Project Network, which is kind of like the LinkedIn for blue collar, where people can find jobs and stuff like that. I find that these platforms all elevate us, you know what I mean, as a community, right? Stop keeping those cards close to your chest. Start speaking to other people, start speaking to other kitchen companies. Doesn't matter if they're in your area, doesn't matter if they're half an hour, you know, south, north, east, west, because it might just be that one conversation that just sparks one idea and literally changes your business, you know, like 180 degrees. And this has happened so many times. How many entrepreneurs you know that just had a conversation with some random person, there was something that was discussed, a light bulb went off in their head, and that's what started their business, right? So what's to make you think that you can't do that inside a community? Maybe somebody, or maybe three people are all doing one little piece different, and as you're speaking to them, you kind of take, you know, whether it's one opinion or you take three little opinions, put them together, that light bulb goes off in your head, and it's totally transformed the way you function, right? The way your business functions.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, and you to go back, you hit the nail on the head. When I was younger, I had a job we built barns. It was a construction company, and I said, when they hired me, I said, "Do you guys work weekends?" He said, "No." He said, "We'll burn our guys out if we do that." And he said, "We tried it, and guys just get burnt out. You have to have time with your family and have time to look after those things. It's extremely important. Look after yourself too."
I find that's the only reason we get up to go to work, right? It's for our family, right? It's you know, to pay for our houses, to do this, to do that. So why would we let it consume all the things that we're trying to do, right? Again, it's not like you're going to be installing kitchens on a Sunday night, you know, while you're watching the football game. So what is it that's eating up your time? That's something that you need a tool for, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I have 5 grandkids now, so I'd like to spend time with them and use tools like that to free my time up.
Nice. Question for you, Scott. You know, you've been in the industry now, spanning multiple decades. And you mentioned you got your first big referral flood just by doing excellent work, right? And showing what you could do. How rare is that mindset today, you think, in terms of just letting your work and the craftsmanship and the quality speak for itself?
Yeah, I am finding it as I get to know more tradespeople, but it is becoming more. And I think the good thing about the trades, it'll eat you alive if you're not good. You'll last a little while. There's lots of people who have had crappy work done, and it just keeps happening because then some guys come on and they just don't care. But I think if a company's been around for 5-10 years, they're probably doing things right. But I think the community needs to stay on top of that. And I think the community can help stay on top of that. Nothing makes things move in the right direction like peer pressure. I learned that from something else I did when I was younger. Um, you talk to your peers and you see what they're doing and you see what they're accomplishing or not accomplishing, and you learn a ton from that. So I think our site would play a role in hopefully improving the number of people out there that do good work.
Yeah, and especially it's easier to squeak by in, booming economic times, right? But, I think one of the benefits of where we're at now, whether it's a downturn or a recession, a slowdown, whatever you want to call it, as they say, right? Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And this will, you could easily, you're going to get exposed if you're not, if you don't take pride in your work and your craftsmanship. So I look at that. I look at times like this as more so as it could be a benefit just to weed out all the excess, so to speak.
I think that's happening.
It's definitely happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott, have you found it
during COVID, you could walk down the street with a hammer and you'd get pulled into a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask you, do you find it challenging being doing kitchens and using a lot of subcontractors, finding guys that you trust where you can kind of show up to site, give them the drawings, and then know that it's going to be in good hands? Has that been a challenge?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Because I'm in it to do a really, really, really good job. I want to build my business. I want to be the best there is. I want all the work. And you have to be the best there is to do that. So I'm picky. So, yeah, it's hard to find somebody that's going to do what you do. But that's also a learning curve, because if they are, I use the term malleable, if they're open to talking, which some people don't take even the slightest bit of constructive criticism very well, but if they're open to talking, then I can work with them and explain to them. And I've turned one or two situations around where I didn't think it was going to work, and it eventually, worked fabulously.
How did you vet these guys? How did you vet them to begin with? Just because obviously you're putting your name on the product. So are
Yeah,
these guys...
well, I bring them on. I interview, put out the job description, talk to guys, get a sense of how they feel about it. Try from my end to really do the best I can to describe what it is we're doing and how we run things. And then I try to train them as best as I can. But at the same time, you're watching how they're interacting with customers, not just doing the work. And ideally, I'd love somebody who was like a salesman that worked like it was a piece of art, but that's pretty rare. Sometimes you get a guy who's really, really good at what he does, but he's not so good in somebody's home. And you have to watch that. So
it's funny. Sorry to interrupt you there, Scott. It's funny.
No, it's okay.
I can't remember who said this. This was a couple episodes ago. Guys, if you chime in, but they said you have to have like one or the other. You got to be reliable, where you don't have all the skill, right? Or you have all the skill, but sometimes you're not reliable. But if you're both,
you're screwed.
You're screwed. You're fucked. Yeah. You know what I mean? and
if
listen,
if you do have both, you're iPlum.
and listen, with the amount of guys that we carry, and obviously we've been through a lot of employees as well throughout the years. You really see that, and I can't remember who it was that said that, Costa. I don't know if or Charlie, if you guys remember, but it was a really good. It was a really good.
Mike Paver King.
Yeah, that's right. It was Paver King, Mike from Paver King, and it's really It's really true when you look at it, because I've had guys, or still do have guys, that they are, you can't really replace them in terms of skill and what you can rely on them for to do on site. But you have to deal with a little bit of, coming late, leaves early, and you kind of glance over that, because it's like, look, man, like, this guy can do what anybody else can do in 4 hours what they could do in 8 hours.
Yeah.
Then the flip side is, you have guys, and I always see this, truthfully, like, you can see this from a mile away with new apprentices, right? You see the guys that they're green, or they're trying to learn. They've made mistakes before, but 6 a.m. they start. They're there at 5:45. They're ready, willing to work. They're kind of like the first ones to show up, one of the last ones to leave, and that accounts for a lot too, right? It truly does, because, like you said, as long as they're malleable, right? Like, you got to be able to teach them, but also too, this comes down to the teacher as well, right?
Totally.
So a lot of people complain, I've had this guy for 5 years, he was green, he's not learning, right? And it's like, well, is it him or is it the teacher, right? Because there is a section of that we all have to kind of put onus on, on ourselves at one point or another. Because I know Charlie and I, when we started hiring guys, we were just looking for, I need the top guys. I need guys that, could do what I can do. And the reality is nobody's going to treat your business the way you treat it, right? This is the reality. So the best thing to do is to learn how to become a good teacher in order to pass the torch on. And again, even when you pass that torch, it's not going to be 100%, because nobody's going to take care of it the way you do. But at least if you can get 95%, from them of what you can do, I look at that as a win.
Yeah. It's having your own business, having people that work with you, teaches you a lot about yourself. It's getting a lot better now, but there's times I come home and I have to talk. My wife has to talk me down. When I first started years ago, she's like, well, maybe they have something going on in their life, and you gotta talk to them. You can't just assume. And so you become, eventually, if you stay in it, you become a teacher.
Speaking on that, though, what Johnny was saying, so, a lot of the headlines we're seeing now, right, about skilled labor shortages and all this. And we've spoken about this on a few episodes as well, about how mentorship is one of the most underrated levers available to help solve this skilled labor shortage, right? So in your opinion, like, why aren't more experienced tradespeople stepping up as mentors? Like, what's the barrier? Is it, just the nature of the industry? Is it companies not doing enough to incentivize?
When I look at the field, first of all, I think there are men and women out there that want to be a mentor. To touch on that subject for a second, I did a kitchen 5-6 years ago. It was this fella. He said, I just live 5 doors down and we're doing this. I said, oh, are you going to rent this out? And he said, no, I'm going to move here. And then he says, I might do this again. He said, I retired 5 years ago. He was a CEO or something. And he said, I went into a deep depression. He says, I got to do more than play cards or play golf. He said, I just got to keep doing something. I don't need to be as busy as I was at all, but I just need something to keeps me. I got to do this today. And so I think a lot of guys in the trades might find that when they quit, when they retire, when they just can't do it anymore, they want to keep doing something. I see it every day, because I get in and out of a different house every day, and I see retired people, and it's not great out there. A lot of people sit and watch CNN or Fox, and that's all they do all day. So I think there's people that would want to do it. I do think that the mechanism to make that happen needs to somehow be there. We tried to do it a little bit with Contractors Alliance, and we set it aside for now because I did see how big that could be, and it needs to be done right, and something needs to be developed that makes it easy for the 65-year-old or 70-year-old to just plug in to a younger person and just have a chat, or just that bring people together. I think we can do it on our site eventually. I just want to do it right.
I think a big reason why you don't see the mentoring happen, and I agree, Casa, it's definitely something the industry needs for sure. But on one end, we're talking about how contractors are constantly fighting for time, right? We're doing everything we can just to shave some hours off, just so we can spend additional time with our families, with our friends, whatever it may be. So I don't necessarily think it's guys that they don't want to do it. It's just that they're just fighting so hard for this time. And then when they finally get the time, they want to enjoy it and keep it for themselves rather than take that time and teach somebody else how to do something. And you have those guys that do free up some time to teach others, but essentially they're going to take that time, and the others that they're teaching are going to be guys that are going to be working within their own companies to benefit their company that they've worked hard for and put their own blood, sweat, and tears for. So I don't know. I'm actually curious to know what your thoughts are, Casa, like being from a software background. What do you think the difference is, where I've noticed a lot of guys in the tech world are gladly giving up their time to strangers for the most part, just to help out, and just they're kind of like open books. What do you think the difference is between software versus contracting?
I don't see any difference between, like, let's say a software company. Perfect example is all these new AI tools that are out right now, right? Which is new to everybody. So a lot of tech companies, they're proactively training their employees, like taking a step back from the day-to-day work, investing like days, if not weeks, on training and learning new tools and new products to further, grow the business. So like you're kind of like taking a step back, but the payoff with that investment and that new knowledge is going to potentially be like, fivefold. So,
Yeah, but again, that's within your own company, right?
Yeah, well,
yeah, but that's what I mean. It has to come. I think companies have to incentivize their best workers to like carve out time for them during the day. Like you're not asking them to go above and beyond. Just like embed that process in their workflow, right? That's what I think.
Well, I think to your question, Charlie, and obviously because we are in the same industry as Scott, but I think a lot of this doesn't happen is because, listen, like, let's be real, construction, it's a hostile environment. So I feel like a lot of times a lot of guys don't want to take the time to mentor or do anything like that, because when they're done their day, it's like, fuck this. Like I want nothing to do with it. I know my wife too. Every time I come home, she's like, how was your day? It's like, it was good. She's like, oh, how come you don't want to talk about your day like more in depth? And it's like, what do you want me to say? That, I had a yelling match with this guy, and, this guy called me a bunch of names, and, I'm being thrown in a bunch of different directions. This is the reality, right, Charlie? Like, we talk about this all the time. It's like, it's a fucking hostile environment. It is. It's people want blood. And I feel like it's very hard for people to sit there after they've, had a hard day, a hard week, and try to mentor. And this is why I believe getting together in communities, like one event that we're going to tomorrow, Costa, is extremely important. Just so people can see that it's not just you, right? Everybody's going through it. And like you said too, Scott, even on the mental health side, you never know what somebody's going through. But we are one of the only industries that we don't really it's kind of like every man for themselves, and I think that truly should change. It's just, how do you change it, right? And I think by putting platforms out like that, it just motivates people, right? And it will take some time. It will take some time for everybody to kind of adapt to it. But I find that the younger generation that are coming up are obviously more adaptable than, the older generation. Like, if you go and tell my old foreman now, who's retired, hey, do you want a mentor? He's going to look at me sideways and probably throw the same hammer he did at me when I started, right? There's no changing him. So I feel like that generation's kind of come and gone, and you won't get much out of them. But I feel like it's up to us as we're going through this and we see these things that are going on. And listen, I also believe that hostile environment makes us who we are, right? That's why we are tougher than I want to say more white collar. I'm not saying all, but more white collar. We have thicker skin. But there's got to be a way for us to also help and want to collaborate with one another.
Charlie, about your question, actually thinking about it a bit more, I think one of the big differences comparing construction to, like a white collar industry is the fact that in these industries where you see a lot of mentorship, like in software and things like that, these are industries where you're using your mind more than your physical body in a lot of cases. And
great point.
When you're working mentally a lot, like a lot of people get like stimulation by like continuing to work your brain and your mind. So you have that, as opposed to construction where like the physical labor part of it is just like often draining in a lot of cases. Like you just don't have the capacity.
The energy. Yeah, which is a great point. It makes sense. And I think that's why a lot of things are changing now, because you're seeing a lot of contractors now start to use software and implement tools to kind of ease certain parts of their day, which gives them more time. So they have a bit more energy. And then you're starting to see, Scott's creating this community. We've seen a few of these communities kind of spring up. And I think the tides are changing because, like I said, when me and Johnny were starting our company, there was nothing like this that existed. Me and Johnny learned how to price jobs through trial and error like most guys did. We were lucky to have one mentor who kind of, gave us some guidance near the beginning, but for the most part, it was just done through trial and error. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of where my mind was going, because I've always worked on tools my whole life. And, I was on a roof when I was 13, 14 years old. And I remember coming home at 14, fucking absolutely exhausted. I couldn't even think that night.
Now imagine somebody asking you to mentor after a day like that. Right?
So fast forward, now I'm 41 years old. Between the three of us, we have 9 kids, right? So, I come home and the first thing I want to do is just hug my wife and my kids. The last thing that's on my mind is, here, let me get on a laptop on a Zoom call and start mentoring some kids about how to do plumbing, right? I couldn't fucking care less at that point. My priorities are at home. But with that being said, back to your point, Costa, I think one thing that I've noticed, and honestly, I'll be very honest and say that I noticed it in my own company, and I try to stop it when I do see it, is bad teachers. Just because you're a great plumber, a great electrician, a great cabinet maker, whatever the case may be, it does not make you a good teacher. And we have to be very aware of this as the owners of these companies, where you have young entrepreneurs or young apprentices coming in who want to learn the craft, and they're being thrown to the wolves. And a lot of employees will say, well, listen, you're going to get what you get. This guy's a great cabinet maker. Just put up with him and shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear a peep out of you. But meanwhile, this kid's getting abused, and he could possibly be the best cabinet maker you'll ever see in your life, but he's been put with a guy who has no idea how to teach the skills that he has and pass them onto this young kid, right? I've seen this happen not many times in our company, but when I have noticed it, I've made a point to actually drop everything I was doing, get on the scissor lift, and actually teach my foreman how to teach these kids, right? With an actual real life example. And I've had apprentices come up to me and say, hey, is there any way you can come to site tomorrow? I want to pick your brain about this and that. And I laugh, right? Because obviously I can't be in that many places at one time. But it's a great example where I can now pull my foreman aside and say, hey, you see what I just did? This kid has been working with you for a month and he still didn't know the answer to a basic question because every time he asked you, you just yelled at him and, just called him stupid or whatever the case may be. You didn't teach him in the right way. And sometimes you need to do that and you have to be aware of it because it happens in a lot of companies. We just finished a round of hiring where we had like over 100 people come through. And the large majority of them say that they're not happy where they are because they have no voice. I want to learn and I'm not learning anything where I am. So it's like I hear somebody say that to me and all I want is a kid that's asking a million questions. I want you to bother me. I want you to bother my foremans and ask them. I want my foremans to call me and say, hey, this kid's getting on my nerves. Can you get rid of him? And when I ask him why, I says, because he won't fucking shut up and he just keeps asking me a million questions. That's what I want to hear because it's a kid that's hungry that wants to learn and eventually will pick up the tools that he needs to take over that position. So for anyone listening, I honestly just keep an eye on these young kids because a lot of them are eager to work. They just need the right guidance.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Before we wrap here, Scott, last question for you. I know contractors or the Canadian Contractor Alliance, it's still in its infancy, early stage, but where do you see this community in the next 5 years?
So our goal in the next 5 years is to have 10,000 members. We think that's even just a small fraction of the independent contractors that are out there in Canada from our research. And we'd like to grow it to the point where we've got companies that come to us looking for people, even though right now it's mainly a self-employed type of thing. But we want to grow it as the tool that everybody goes to if they need information, they need help. Like I said, this AI tool is going to be huge, even on the job site. If somebody has a question, I've used it. I've solved some problems in kitchens with this that I'm just so thankful for. It's an unbelievable thing, and I see that really being of high value for particularly maybe apprentices and for potential teachers as well. It can give you awesome instruction or ideas on how to handle your role as a teacher. We want it to be the go-to in 5 years.
Amazing. Well, we're excited to see the growth over the years, and we're eager to support in any way we can. So we wish you the best of luck. If for anyone listening, it's Contractors Alliance Canada.ca is the website. We'll put that all in the show notes as well. Perfect. Scott, last thing we always ask everyone before we wrap. Given your experience in the business, in the industry, if you can put one business lesson or message on a billboard for every contractor in the world to see, what would it say?
Just do it and do your best. Absolute best.
You're not, yeah, that's...
I think people are afraid to try. Just do it. You'll shock yourself.
Nike got that one on point.
Yeah, they did, unfortunately.
to the day.
Yeah. Amazing. All right, Scott, really appreciate you taking the time, sharing about your journey and what you're doing right now with Contractors Alliance Canada. And for all of our listeners, if you got this far, we appreciate it. If you are looking to streamline the way you run your contracting or trades business, check out Jobtable.com. There's a 14-day free trial, and just utilize it, optimize your day, become more efficient with your quotes, invoicing, scheduling, timesheets, all that's there. There's a 14-day free trial. Check it out. And Scott, once again, really appreciate it. We'll definitely
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Scott.
Nice meeting you guys. It was a
You
pleasure.
as well.
Take care.